All right, people. So I'm gonna make this tutorial. I'm making this specifically for somebody who asked, um, Alejandrations, who asked for a stencil, but I didn't have stencils of these flowers. So I'm gonna make a little tutorial on how I kind of make these type of flowers or designs, if you want to call them. And yeah, it's fairly simple. It's just kind of producing the type of language that it is, right? So pretty straightforward. So to start off, I'm gonna do a couple of them just to kind of show you the practice of it, or the practicality. So you can start with the circle. Okay, simple enough, a circle. And this is just an example, and then you can tailor it to you. And then I go with different a different approach, not a different approach, but just make the petals however you make petals. Sorry, my head hit the stand. Okay, and again, there's no wrong way to do this. No wrong way. Okay, and then from here, so as you go, you can kind of do the next step. I'll kind of put this right here as a reference so you can kind of maybe see what I'm talking about, or like, you know, make the comparison. So the idea is, and then from here, you can kind of fill in. So if I make a design, or make an extra little design inside the design, that is what's going to be my positive or my negative, depending on how you want to see it, right? And right now I'm going a little fast. I'm not being as tedious as maybe I would, because the idea about this little tutorial is just to kind of show the practicality of these little designs. I hope your day was super well. And then even I'll add an extra little ring, so I'll show you why I add this little extra ring, because I want this thickness to kind of happen with the black. And so I'll show you the next step. And so I'll take a thicker marker. You can still use the same if you want, or you can use a color, but in this case I kind of like this black. These were intended for people to color for themselves. And then I'll fill in all the little excess space. And in some cases, I'll make these little lines a little thicker, because yeah, this thick marker here is going to kind of give me a couple of flaws. And I call them flaws because, you know, I want it to look clean. That's the intention. And then the reason why I put that extra little ring, so that way I can give myself a little more room to work with. Again, I'm not being as tedious, so forgive my semi-sloppiness, but I like the sloppiness sometimes. In fact, I draw and paint sloppy on purpose sometimes, because if you just stay consistent with the sloppiness, it's style, right? If you look at like a lot of Mexican artesanías, the strokes aren't really like that clean. They're just consistent, you know, because sometimes they just have to produce. And I'll show you kind of how to clean it up right now. And I think my eyes have been going, man. I've been noticing I haven't been able to, I'm squinting a little more these days. So I think that's kind of being an effect right now. Okay, so again, it's a little sloppy, but then I go back to this little marker right here, and I kind of clean up those little edges. The big Sharpie, the fatter Sharpie, kind of gave some roughness. And so like right there, you want to clean that up. Again, I'm not worried about like everything being crazy even. The idea is just get it down. And notice how there is like a lot of blackness around. In this case, you know, again, I took a little more time, but I'm giving you just the idea of how I kind of go about working this style. And I went silent for a bit, but I'm gonna start talking again. And so there you go. And then the next step, I guess, maybe to kind of help it out, I like to kind of soften these edges. Again, it's just choice. It's style. You don't have to do this at all. But in this case, I do want to do that. Now this line around here, this border is kind of a little thicker than I would like, but that's okay. You know, it's just another thing. And then from there, well, let me soften these ones, round them out. So I'm not going to take as much time. So this tutorial is not about cleanliness and perfection, it's just about ideas, okay, and developing language. And from here you can keep building if you like. So you can do one thing you can do is just add the outline, kind of give yourself a home to work with. In this case, I'm building this little petal of a home, and then that's gonna be my next little workspace, right? And then there's your little limitations in a sense. And then from here I can kind of start working with my points and then fill it in right here. So the more you kind of hug the original lines like that, the less there's gonna be around it. So in this case, I'll just stick with this one because the black parts are gonna be a little more fine. Might as well just fill it in, right? And play with it, Alejandra, okay? Just play around with it, see what works for you. So, but I appreciate you appreciating this style, or whatever you want to call it. But it is very possible to do this yourself, and I wish I could make stencils based on time and all that stuff. It seems like it'll just be easier if you try it. And on top of that, you know, I heard this anecdote. Someone said that this comic was criticized by somebody and said like, oh, you're representing our community bad, and you should start doing these type of jokes. And the comic told the person, if that's the kind of comedy you want to hear, then be that comic. And so I kind of started adopting that a little bit, in the sense of saying, well, if you want to see a certain type of drawing, if you think there's a certain type of thing I should do, then you should be the one to do it, right? Again, that can kind of come off a little crude, but it's true. And I kind of play that with myself too, because, you know, I have my own criticisms about life and people and things, and that's just my flaw as a human being, and I'm working on it. So in this case, you know, just develop my own language and try to get as good as I can with it. Anyways, I'm gonna leave that one right there. In fact, I'll just leave the whole thing right there. Or, you know, I'll give you another one more little option right here. So, you know, you can stay consistent like that, but you can also throw in different shapes. And again, you know, be creative with it. Don't think you have to stick to a certain thing or whatever it is. It's all up to you, right? Again, I'm not being super clean, so forgive it. So yeah, fill it in, soften edges if you'd like, or keep them pointed. But in this case, I like to soften them up, round them out. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. And so remember, it's not about the cleanliness. It's just about doing something and figuring it out, and figuring out your style. Because I don't remember where this came from, but all these things that I do are just evolutions. And you know, for some reason I tried a certain practice or a certain type of line or a certain type of design, and then it just evolved into this. So it wasn't like I just started doing this right away and got really clean at it. And I wouldn't even call myself that clean, but I'm much cleaner than I was when I started. A lot of my stuff starts off like this, you know, just kind of trying it out. And I'll just kind of fool around on a paper like this, or on my board right here in the back. And yeah, and the more I realize, I kind of like this style, and there's a lot to do with it, so keep on trying it. I even in here, just add little other designs like that, you know? Forget about it. So yeah, hope that was helpful, Alejandra, and the world. Have a good night, yeah?